Let's bring in Vanessa Diaz, who is co-author of the book P-Effing-R, How Bad Bunny Became the Global Voice of Puerto Rican Resistance, and our friend and returning champion, Segun Oduolowo, Emmy Award-winning journalist and media personality. Welcome to you for the first time on the show. Thanks so much. Of course, Segun, great to see you.
Great to be back.
Congrats on the book. This is like literally the perfect book to talk about this moment. And not only do you have this book, but you've got a new article that just came out in Rolling Stone today, which has new reporting on how this happened, sort of taking us behind the scenes of how Bad Bunny, doing a Spanish language show, became the choice of the National Football League. What happened?
Yeah, it was really exciting. This article is actually the first piece to have all three organizations who are part of the organization of the halftime show on the record. So that's NFL, Rock Nation, and Apple Music, the sponsor.
Yeah. And Rock Nation is Jay-Z.
And Rock Nation is, it's Jay-Z. And, you know, what's so fascinating about this is it was actually a really cohesive decision. So Rock really drives the decision. They go to NFL. And as Roger Goodell himself has said, like, he really trusts in Jay-Z. He really trusts in Rock. And they make that decision, and then, you know, there's dialogues with Apple Music, but the real decision centers with Rock, and then Apple Music kind of takes it from the artist side. And for them, it's this really special thing where if you actually look at the history of Bad Bunny's career, Apple Music really launches it in that they put him on streaming for the first time.
And he's the biggest streaming artist in the world, right? 19.5 billion streams?
Yeah.
Well, see, but that's the biggest thing. I think it's a no-brainer that Bad Bunny is the halftime show. If you think of what the NFL is trying to do by growing the game, they open the season in Brazil. They have games in Mexico City. They have games, and they're trying to put games all over the world. You have the largest streaming artist in the world speaking a language that billions of people speak. Why not have Bad Bunny? As we saw at the Grammys just a few days ago, the album of the year is Bad Bunny. So him performing at the Super Bowl feels like the crowning achievement of a great idea.
But there is some pushback, as we know.
That pesky thing called, you know, jingoistic, you know, clouded racism with the other halftime show that they're doing.
The white supremacist
Well, I mean,
halftime show.
you call it the white supremacist.
Say that again. No,
That's
because
what
it is.
That's really what it is.
At a minimum, the idea of calling it the all-American halftime show, and which is, you are inherently suggesting that Bad Bunny is not American,
which is
because he's from Puerto Rico, which is factually inaccurate.
It's factually inaccurate, but the thing is that at the end of the day, what we know is that Latinos, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their citizenship, are always construed as foreign others, and Bad Bunny is no different, even though he's an American citizen. He speaks Spanish, he's seen as culturally different, and that is not what is being talked about as American in this context.
But there are sort of, you know, traditional Republican in the middle of the country football fans, Friday Night Light folks, who will see a Spanish-speaking halftime show as kind of a middle finger to them and their culture.
See, I don't understand how that can be with a Ted Cruz and a Marco Rubio. Like, I don't understand how Latinos everywhere should not use this moment, not only to stand up for good, but Americans everywhere. Like, whether you like the food, whether you like the culture, you are stealing from it in some way, shape, or form. And now you have an artist that has won all the awards, is on all the streaming services, and plays to sold-out crowds wherever he goes. That's what you want to see. You call the winners of the Super Bowl the world champions. Why wouldn't you have an artist that speaks to the world in a language the majority of the world, or a lot of the world, speaks in? It doesn't make any sense to me. And this culture, other concert is nothing more than white supremacy. When you're saying it's all American, it's disrespectful to Puerto Rico, which has been disrespected before. Remember President Trump throwing paper towels at them, like after a hurricane, which is absolutely nonsensical. But Professor, not only an author, you teach a class at LMU about Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Aren't your students, and shouldn't the younger people, shouldn't they be out en masse on social media crying for Bad Bunny?
Well,
What's going on in your classrooms?
In my classrooms right now, well, everyone's excited, but I think this point you made is that Bad Bunny has always used his platform to talk about the things he believes in. And that starts with his first appearance on American television in 2018. He goes on Jimmy Fallon and he goes, you know, Hurricane Maria happened a year ago and people are still without electricity. thousands of people have died, and Trump is in denial. So his first time on American television, he speaks out against Trump.
Well, and it was interesting also at the Grammys on Sunday, he spoke out against ICE,
Yes.
but the way he did so it reminded me a lot of the language of Martin Luther King Jr., which it did.
Okay.
I mean, a student of him, because he couched it with, let's be activists through love. That the way that we win is through love, not through hate, and through this idea of not making your opponent your enemy. I thought from a political perspective, it was interesting.
I see what you're saying, and I get that, like, that sentiment of nonviolence. I also think there's a whole other thing to have a conversation about the way that Martin Luther King's legacy has been, pacified.
Well, I would just say, let's say co-opted, because Martin Luther King also said that protest is the language of the disaffected, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're talking, and what Bad Bunny did with his speech at the Grammys, like, you talked about the first speech, and oftentimes with Martin Luther King, we talk about one speech, but the last speech that Bad Bunny gave was all in Spanish, and that was the middle finger to everybody else that isn't understanding what he's going to bring to the Super Bowl. As you said earlier in the opening, if you don't know, you don't even need to know Spanish to appreciate his music,
Well,
you didn't need to know Spanish to appreciate that speech.
He basically said you need to know how to dance.
Yeah.
And music, as we know, is the universal language.
Which is why the Kid
music-
Rock video or concert will be problematic, because they're on the 1 and 7 instead of the 2 and 4, and they're not going to give you the nice shoulder movement that Bad Bunny's concert is
Part
going
of
to
the
give
whole
you.
point of our book is to say that music and dance are also key parts of resistance, particularly in the Puerto Rican tradition. And so for him to encourage that dance, right, he is actually invoking these histories of resistance that come with
And
him.
we see that in the slave tradition too. That music was a big part of
music,
the resistance.
Yeah, like music has always been counterculture. It's always been subculture, or it's been used as a way to get messages across when speaking it out just in without the rhythm, without the melody, will get you in trouble.
We've talked about the people that are upset by this. Now let's talk about the people who are inspired by this. Bad Bunny talked about that today. Let's listen to some of that.
I'm excited about this performance. I'm excited, but at the same time, how I said before, I feel more excited about the people than even me, about my family, about my friends, people that I know that they always have believed in me, and they happy because this moment, the culture.
What does this mean to the Latino community, to especially the Puerto Rican community, this moment, seeing him, the representation?
I mean, I think at a moment like right now where Latinos are being targeted, they're being criminalized, the Spanish language is being criminalized, that we absolutely need to see a loud, proud Latino performing in Spanish who is unapologetically himself, proud to be himself, proud of his culture. We need that. And frankly, we need it to inspire us to keep fighting for the justice that we need. And so I think that's where enjoying it through dance, enjoying the music, that's also part of what we need to do to keep resisting. And this idea that Bad Bunny, like NFL keeps saying, well, Bad Bunny really understands his platform. He understands the platform. And Bad Bunny's platform has always been about invoking protest. And so I think it's really interesting that that's the perspective. But ultimately, this is a business decision that the NFL made. They know what they're doing. And it just so happens that good business in this case is also the world's most popular artist and is also an artist of protest.
And look at the people on the field. Look at the people on the field. The majority of the people on the field are black and brown.
All right. Well, we want to encourage people to tune in to CNN. We have a special presentation called Bad Bunny and the Halftime Show Rhythms of Resistance that airs Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. And a reminder that your book is available right now. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And great to hear from both of you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Still ahead.